All right, we've got 42 people here. So why don't we get started? So first of all, welcome. Thank you all so much for coming. Very excited to have you all here today. This is the first of a new series that we're starting, and we're calling it Web Wednesday Workshop. So the idea is every couple of weeks, most likely we're going to do them every 2 weeks, but we're going to start off monthly. But we like this idea of presenting a different topic every couple of weeks for us to chat about, basically. And we're calling them workshops. Some will be workshops, some will be more like kind of like lunch and learn type of events, and some will be yeah, just an opportunity for you to engage and ask us questions. And especially with cuTheme coming out, we've got a lot of new features, we've got a lot of new ideas, exactly like we're going to be talking about today. And we really want to take advantage of yeah, this opportunity to meet with you, get your feedback, hear your ideas, and really engage with you around some changes that are coming, as opposed to just like the web services department making all of the decisions and then pushing them out to you. This way we really get your feedback and engage. But before I ramble on too much, some of you might not know who I am. So I think I know the majority of you, but my name is Mary Catherine. I'm the manager of web services, and we are the enterprise web services department here at Carleton. There's 12 of us on the team. We're all here today, and we're really excited to talk to you about top-level navigation. So throughout this presentation, we're going to be putting some questions or polls in the chat just to engage with you. At any time, feel free to write anything in the chat. Anyone from the team can respond, or feel free to just speak up, cut me off, just like start talking over me if you have something that you want to ask. And also to anyone in the web team, if you have anything to add, feel free to just like speak up. I can't always see hands being raised, so don't worry so much about that. Just pop in if you have something to say, and please use the chat. So today, like I said, we're talking about top level navigation. So we're going to
muted MK.
Someone muted me. I'm going to talk a lot. I'm sure that was just an accident. So yeah, we're going to talk about what is navigation. So first of all, just to get everybody on the same page, what are we talking about when we talk about top-level navigation? Why are we considering the move to top nav? So we're going to talk a little bit about some rationale as to why we would even want to make this decision. Some concerns that we're aware of. If we do look to move to top nav, we really want to hear your concerns. And that's really what this meeting is about, is to really get your feedback, hear about anything that you're worried about when it comes to this type of move, so that we can mitigate it, so that we can address it. We're going to show, Troy is going to show some options that we have. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to break out into smaller groups. So there are 58 of us here today. There's no way we could possibly have a conversation in this forum this way. So we're going to break out into smaller groups, and it will give you an opportunity to share your ideas. We really want, like I said, we really want to hear your thoughts on this. It's going to be a pretty significant move if we do decide to do this. So we really want to hear any concerns that you might have so that we can address them. So before I go to the next slide, Shar, did you want to post the poll? So we have just a quick poll just to kind of gauge where everybody is at in the room and how much detail I kind of need to go into on the next slide. So the question is, do you know what we mean? Like, do you know what I'm talking about when I say top nav? We got some maybes. Most of the people are yes. Okay. So out of the 49 responses, 71% people say yes, 14% say no, and 14% say maybe. So that's cool. So first of all, what is a nav? So there's a lot of different words that we can use to talk about what a nav is. We can say top, horizontal. Those are kind of the words that are used for the top level nav. Side or vertical nav. We have a mobile nav. We sometimes say primary or secondary nav. Top level, second level, third level nav, jump to menus, and even a footer is considered a nav. I'm going to show you what these examples are, but these are just the different terminology that we could be using when we're talking about navigation. But essentially, all it is a way to help users navigate or make their way around your website. That's the purpose of a nav. That's what a nav is. And the menu is comprised mostly of static pages. Now in WordPress, you could essentially, or in any platform, you could use any type of content, but predominantly it is static pages. And the titles are considered H1 elements on the page. Now, I mention this because this is an important accessibility consideration that you have to consider when building out a navigation, is that there's a lot that's tied into your navigation, that's tied into accessibility when it comes to your navigation, and this is just one of those things that impacts accessibility. So when I say side level nav, our CMS. So this is an example. A lot of you are on this template right now. In fact, out of the 650 websites-ish that we manage, the majority of the sites are in this side level nav template. So what it is, it's the navigation that's on the left-hand side there, as you can see. And this type of navigation allows for up to 3 levels of navigation. So basically you can dig in and then you see 3 levels. And then we have the top level nav. So our framework sites right now are an example of top level nav. And so as you can see, it's located at the top of the page above the hero banner. It's a horizontal menu. And in this case, and in every case of a top level nav, and this is an important thing for me to mention, is that we are limited to how many items can appear, because otherwise it just keeps dropping down levels, right? And then it breaks the structure and it breaks the overall design. So with a top level nav, we are limited to the number of items we can have on a top level. So again, top level is the first level of navigation items that appear. The second level is if you click in and go further down. So in this case, the red bar represents the second level navigation. And in our framework sites right now, it does allow for 3 levels of navigation. Although, I mean, I don't know how many of you are familiar with framework or working with the front end of framework. It is a little glitchy to like hover over all of the different things. So getting to a 3rd level, top level nav in this case is a little, is not the best UX design that we have. Also, we have our cuTheme pilot. So we have 9 sites in this pilot right now, and it also uses top level nav and side level nav. So what we did in the pilot is we actually created one theme that allowed for 2 different navigation structures. So it's one theme with the option. This caused quite a bit of complexity on our end, which I'll talk a little bit about, but it did provide some flexibility into the people who wanted to use the top level navigation functionality. So here's an example of Sprott using 4 levels of top level nav. So it's again located at the top of the page, at the top of the hero banner, and again limited to how many items can appear. And in cuTheme right now, it allows for 2 levels of navigation. So another example that we have at Carleton, and I'm actually going to get Taylor to just speak a little bit about undergraduate admissions because he's the developer and the manager of the undergraduate admissions websites. So Taylor, if you could just talk a little bit about your site and the navigation.
Yeah, thanks, MK. Yeah, so we manage this website and a few other custom websites across the domain. We've been using the top level horizontal menu system for a while now, and basically just showing what it can be, right? So we kind of operate in this primary secondary model where we do have some static elements that exist at the very, very top in the red portion of the navigation. But then we also have our core navigation found across the white bar. And as with any sites, as you go through this process, if you do end up going to a horizontal menu system, you have to make some difficult decisions about what constitutes your site's web navigation, because you will very likely have to prune some elements back. But in the case of admissions, we literally have hundreds and hundreds of pages, even more posts that relate to specific areas of content that we needed to review. And we undertook a very holistic review of all the content and tried to look at how best to organize it. So with the hundreds and hundreds of pages that we had, we came down to these as being the most viewed and traffic. We were trying to drive traffic to these sections. So all that is to say, it can be done. And, you know, even if you have a lot of content, there's ways in which to be creative about finding solutions around the challenges that having a horizontal menu produce, but you can still organize the content in different ways, feature content in different ways. And if you're using data to drive your decision making, then you know, then users will still have a good experience.
Awesome. Thank you, Taylor. And then there's also the mobile navigation menu, which is called a hamburger menu, essentially. And for this, we just use both for Taylor's sites as well as the sites that we manage. It's just the 3 or 4 bars, 3 bars in the top that open up to the mobile nav. I should have clicked on it and showed you guys what it looks like, but basically you click on it and it opens up to the mobile nav. I understand Taylor has opinions on whether it should be in the left-hand side or the right-hand side, but all of this to say there is a lot that goes into the decisions on what type of nav to use, where to place it, how does it open, whether to use all caps or no cap. Like there's a lot of decisions to be made. And so the first big decision to be made here is whether or not we do actually move to only top level nav. So I hope that clears it up in terms of what we're talking about. So again, we're distinguishing between the side level nav and the top level nav. Right now, most people do have the side level nav, and we're considering the move to the top level nav. I think we're going to have a whole other session on left hand or right hand mobile nav. Okay, so just to give you some reasons why we are considering the move. So the first and foremost reason has to do with the visitor's experience to Carleton websites. So what we're looking to accomplish here is a consistent user experience across the Carleton domain. So when you think about a visitor's journey, I'm going to use prospective students as an example because we just showed the admissions website. So a prospective student comes into the admissions website through various marketing campaigns, and then they want to dive into more information. So then they go to a departmental website, which we manage. Now, if that departmental website navigation changes, it can throw off the user and not create that consistent, seamless user experience across the board. And this happens all the time. And when we start to look into our analytics, and now that we're moving into GA4, Google Analytics 4, it's basically the new Google Analytics platform that we're going to be using. It allows us to see the user experience across the whole domain. Right now, analytics only give us view into individual websites, and now we're going to have a much more holistic view of the entire experience across Carleton. And that's really what we're looking to do here. We are not islands on our own. We are all part of the same organization, in a lot of cases working towards the same goals. And so that experience that the visitor has, this enables them to have that consistent user experience regardless of the site that they're on. One big benefit to you all developing content, designing content for your site, and also for the visitor, is we get to use that full width of the screen for content. And what this does is it allows us to develop a lot more blocks only for top level that really that look really good, that are very focused on the visitor in terms of using that whole space, and the navigation is always at the same spot. But yeah, you'll see at the end, Troy's going to give a little bit of an overview of what cuTheme will look like with the full width, with the navigation on the top. And you'll just have an idea of what it looks like when he shows you that. There's so many more modern options available for TopNav. So what I showed you with Framework and cuTheme, the pilot, they're very simple navigations. Like you click and you get one level. Now there's so much that we can do. There are so many options available for TopNav. There are these really great menus that pop up, and it's a mega menu. And basically, there's just so many modern options now. Troy is going to walk us through some of those options, and you'll see. But basically, when it comes to designing a nav, there's there's so much that we can do. There are so many possibilities, and I'm super distracted by the chat right now. Sorry, I wish I could mute that. There's a lot that we can do now. There's a lot more modern options available. So we'll show you some of those. It also streamlines our template and it streamlines our development. So I'll just give you a bit of insight into how we work. Particularly with cuTheme, the way that we developed it for the pilot, because you can use either navigation in the template. Whenever we're developing a new block or a new section for the site, we always have to take into consideration, how does it work with the side nav? How does it look with the side nav? And then how does it also look with the top level nav? And that's a lot of extra discussion. That's a lot of extra time. And that's a lot of extra development being put into a feature for just one block. If we simplify our template and go to only top level nav, it allows us to do so much more with our time. We can really hone in on these features that we're developing and make them really amazing for just one level of one navigation structure. And then it also gives us more time to consider all of the feature requests that you guys are bringing in. And it just opens up just a lot more space for us to consider other options. I have mobile friendly and accessible on the bottom here. I just want to note that whether we go side level nav or top level nav, the sites are mobile friendly, they are accessible. It's not to say that side level nav is less. What these speak to is less about the template itself and more about the content. So when you develop a navigation, the more streamlined it is, the more clear it is, the less items you have, the more mobile friendly it will be, and most definitely the more accessible it will be. And so by putting the restrictions on the top level navigation, it in itself will lend to a more accessible and more mobile friendly website. So those are just some high level reasons why we're considering it. Again, like, it really comes down to the user experience across the whole domain and really putting the user first and the visitor first. It comes down to the types of content that we can develop for the theme and how much more time and effort we can put into the blocks for just one navigation. And it'll just look so much more modern. So on that note, we are aware of some concerns that you do have. Some have already been brought forward to us, some we just know. So these are just a few of them, but we really want to hear any other concerns that you have today. So here are some concerns that we were already aware of and we would look to mitigate. So the first one is large navigation. So definitely side level nav allows you to have quite a few navigation items at the time at the moment. Also in the side level nav, we do have those buttons that appear on the bottom. So there's some questions around what will happen to those buttons. There's some questions around what would the multi-level, so the first level, second level, third level navigation items look like in, like, what could it potentially look like in a top level nav? Will it still allow for that kind of flexibility to add more than, two, but like basically an easy way for people to navigate the site? There's been some concern around having to rework the navigation. And this is something that we are very aware of as well. If you do move into a top level nav, a lot of people will most likely need to rework their navigations. And I just want to say here that we're fully aware of that and that we will provide so much support if this is the case. We will have workshops, we can do one-on-one engagements, everything that we can do to help to create that navigation to improve that user experience, we will be there to support. We had someone write in about some mobile concerns, which would not be a concern, but yeah, just thank you for bringing that forward. And there was also another concern around distinguishing from the global navigation. So the global navigation would be the navigation at the very top bar, directing you all around the whole Carleton domain versus the navigation specific to the site. So these are just a few of the concerns that we've heard and that we would look to address. But again, really want to hear any other concerns that you would have, and then we would take it into consideration when we're looking at this move. But let's dive into talking about some options and some best practices. So here I'm going to pass it over to Troy. He's going to walk us through some really awesome top level navs, and everything that you see here, I'll just say, Our team of developers are amazing, and there's nothing that we can't do. So Troy, pass it over to you.
Thanks, MK. Thanks for joining us, everyone. It's a pretty exciting conversation to be having, and I'm very happy to be a part of it. I'm going to just go ahead and find the window that I have all of my browser stuff in. It is here somewhere. Here it is. So I'm just going to go through a couple of sites that we had all looked at as a group, and just look at some of the options that are out there. Just to gets us thinking, gets you guys thinking. I'll share all of these links towards the end of the meeting. I don't want to bog down the chat now, especially when we're starting to some discussion. So I'll follow up after with all these links, so everybody can go ahead and take a look at these for themselves as well. So one of the first sites we were looking at was Asana. As you can see here, Asana's got a very small navigation, it appears. But when you really start looking at this navigation through a very strong content organization strategy, they have packed in a significant amount of links throughout their entire navigation. And you can see it carries over through other sections of the site. I just went into the enterprise section. So what you can see here is they have a lot of navigation. It's very clearly organized. They have sections within their mega menu, and they have nice little descriptions. I find that really, really nice when I'm not quite sure exactly what these sections are. Moving over to Questrade was another similar style to Asana, but they had a little bit less in their secondary navigation and more descriptions. But I did like these highlight sort of sections here. This could be a neat idea for some departments and some areas where they could highlight a specific area within this section and then have all of the other areas. So thinking maybe key areas or some way to highlight areas of sites. Another area that kind of came up were banks. Banks have a lot of navigation. As you can see with CIBC here, well, I don't like this little flicker between them. As you go through, you can see again, lots of sections, lots of secondary links here. Like these are very large sites with lots of navigation. I could be wrong, but I would be surprised if we have a site on campus that has more page links in a navigation than Scotiabank has. When I saw this one, I was like, hey, this is a great example of something that's got a significant amount of pages. So again, these all follow the top level navigation structure, and organization is the big key for most of these sites. Moving over to Shopify, we also have one that's got a very small top level navigation. Then we also kind of get into this secondary navigation. So this is similar to what we get on Framework, where you get the top level, and then once you get within their online store area, you get another second level navigation here. And then finally, I wanted to throw in the Government of Canada. While I'm not the biggest fan in some cases of this hidden navigation, I initially was, but after I got to thinking about it a little bit, I'm not a big fan of hiding it. The reason why I wanted to put it on this list is because the Government of Canada also has to follow all the same accessibility rules that we have to follow. So in my opinion, if the Government of Canada can make this giant mega menu with what must be over 100 links in here and still make this accessible and not do it in a nice design way, I feel that anybody can do this, especially with a team of developers like we have here. Yeah, so those are some of the links that we had been looking at. Some of the examples we have of really good top level navigations with a lot of links in there. And I feel any number of those sites we just looked at could meet the needs of any of the sites that we manage here at Carleton. So I'm going to pass it back over to MK, and thank you very much for the time.
Thanks, Troy. So that's the spiel, that's the talking part of this presentation to kind of give you an overview of what the nav is, what is it that we're talking about, and what are some options that we have when looking at top level nav. I really like when you can see the different options available in the mega menus. I put in the chat here, but you can put call to actions in the nav. So I like that idea because with each top level navigation, you don't have then so the buttons that we have right now relate to the whole site, but you can have buttons relating to that specific area of your website and whatever the call to action is within that section. And also just a lot more possibility for like maybe descriptions, maybe different ways of organizing content with like kind of headings within the navigation there. So yeah, lots of things to think about, lots of ideas. And that's why we wanted to put it out to you. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go into breakout rooms. So there's 63 of us here. So what we're going to do is go into 6 different rooms, I think. Char, maybe more. I'll leave it up to Charlotte to decide. But you're going to be put into a breakout room, and there will be a web services person in each of those rooms to help kind of guide the conversation if need be, and they will be taking some notes. But what we really want from you today is your thoughts, your ideas, your concerns, like just we want to hear what you have to say about this idea. No decisions have been made yet. So this is really going to help guide our decision of whether or not to remove the side level navigation. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being brutally honest in these breakout rooms, which I hope you're going to be, because we want to hear what you have to say. Well, thank you everyone so much for coming and for sharing your thoughts and feelings about this potentially big change that we're looking to make. From the feedback that I've gathered so far just by popping into the different rooms, I think that this is in the right, I get the feeling we're all on the same page, and we're going to take all of your feedback into consideration. And what we will do is we'll send a follow-up email later this week, just kind of recapping everything that we went over. And then we are going to review all of the feedback and look at what our options are, basically, if we move to TopNav. And we're going to start to put together some designs. And because you are all so kind to give your feedback, you guys can get the first sort of preview and can give us some feedback on what those first designs could look like. But before we go, speaking of designs, I want to give you a little bit of a preview into where we're at with cuTheme. So
exciting.
Okay. So this is the new cuTheme. Looks like the old cuTheme. No, seriously, this is the WordPress dashboard. So I'm going to start off just by making a page. And I purposely didn't create a page because we get questions every single time we do a demo about why is my text not in English. This right here is called lorem ipsum, and developers and content designers always use lorem ipsum text to mock things up really quickly. So this is why our text is never in English when you see us doing demos. First thing I want to show off, and you've probably all seen the video for the news cards. So as you can see, we're dropping a news card block on the page. Starts off with some default options here. Over here on the side, we have some more additional options. So we can use the gray background. We can set the number of columns to 4, 3, or 2. We can turn images on or off. We can turn off the dates. We can turn off the excerpts. We can show categories. We can sort them in various orders. We can increase or decrease the number of items being shown on the page. I'll bring this up to 3 column, and I'll come down to 3, and I will save this one. And we'll take a look at what this looks like on the front end here. There's 50-50 chance there might be a few little bugs in this because we're still in development. So this is what your block looks like on the front end. Any changes done here are reflected on the front end. One of the nicest things about the new cuTheme is what you see in the back end here is as close as we can get it to what the front end is going to look like. So everybody who uses the preview mode, you probably won't need to use that as much anymore. One of the new things in cuTheme is how we work with images. Someone was mentioning something about images in the breakout room that I was in. I'm just going to go ahead and put an image on the page. It's a really basic image. You can take a look at what this looks like down here on the page, a nice widescreen image. Now, one of the things we're starting to look at for cuTheme is extending beyond the main container area. By dropping the side nav, this allows us to extend certain blocks beyond the main container area, gives us more flexibility on designs, allows us to use more than 3 columns in some cases. So for example, in this one, if I were to go up to 4 columns and add a 4th item in here, even though it doesn't look so wide in the back end view, that's something we hope to fix in the future. What you see on the front end, though, is that you get a 4-column block that extends beyond the readable content area. So we're going to be looking to do a lot of this stuff in the near future. One other little thing I do want to show you really quickly. This is an area, I don't think I really showed the web services group any of this stuff yet, but the images now have the ability to be cropped. So we can go in here and if this image is, I already cropped this one, but if it weren't cropped, I could actually use cropping tools to move this around. Also, we have the ability to put text on a page. So I can say, add some, highlight text here. If I want to come down and I want to put a button on the page, I can add a button. Then I can come in and I can add another button on the page. I can also go in and I can align my buttons to the middle of the page here. And I can also turn this button into an outline. We are working on some additional styles here. We won't end up in production with fancy pants and a lucky ducky button as much as I'd like to. We're going to end up with boring names like light gray and dark gray and red. We can also put in certain percentages for these sizes. Then once I update that and we take a look on the front end, the width has not been finished off on this one yet. But as you can see here, we're starting to build out even more functionality in some of the stuff that everybody has been used to for years at this point. So we're going to get the tools that we currently have, and we're adding so much more to it. So that is a really, really quick demo of cuTheme. I have so much more I could show. I could sit here for an hour and go through more and more stuff that we've done, things we've planned. Somebody asked me in our breakout room about videos and how they didn't want to modal or they didn't want to kick people off the site to YouTube. One of our developers, Monica, had just finished building a setup with the videos that on the card itself, the video is embedded with the play button. So no one has to go anywhere to look at our videos anymore. And from that, there's also the controls to go full screen from there. So we're not kicking people off your sites. We're not even going to have them load another page unless they want to. So someone to point that one out because someone specifically asked about the videos earlier.
Awesome. Thank you, Troy. So yeah, that's just a really, really quick sneak peek into it. We will offer another sort of like web workshop Wednesday just to go over cuTheme, and we'll start to like really dig into some of these features, start showing a lot more of what we have going on, and again, getting your feedback on some of these features, hearing what you think. So like even looking at that image block with the buttons, is there something else you want to be able to do with that? Is there a functionality that we're not thinking about that would work really well on your site? Like we really want to hear what you have to say. So sorry when we went over. But thank you so much to everyone for coming. I really enjoyed hearing all of your feedback, and we will definitely take it into account and communicate with you again soon. So thank you so much. I hope you all have a good day.
One thing I'd like to mention, keep your eyes on our YouTube channel because Charlotte has already posted a video showing what I just showed on the news card block. She's got one ready to go any day now for the news listing block. We just recorded one for the videos that I just described. There's people coming, there's images coming. We have a lot of videos coming to start showing everybody what to expect on cuTheme so you can start getting excited earlier and start planning your sites earlier.
And we will start communicating the migration soon as well. So a lot coming. Subscribe to our newsletter. It's all going to be in there.